Welcome to the Women in Mortgages podcast. I'm here with Rosalia. She is doing all sorts of things. So Manuka Media is, I think, your main company, but you also do the Money Honey podcast. You do ladies events. I think particularly the ladies who cans. I can't even say it.
Ladies who can.
So do you want to just give us a bit more about you? Tell us what you're doing, what you're up to, what we all want to know.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. I really appreciate being on the show because I really love your community and what you're doing on Facebook with the ladies in mortgages. It's just so valuable. Honestly, like if something like that existed 10 years ago when I first joined the industry, I would have felt a bit more like heard and accepted and welcome. But we can go into that later. But I'm Rosalia Lazzara-Tilley and I'm the founder of Manuka Media, which is a personal branding and digital marketing agency. We do marketing and content for all people in property and finance. So that's my main bag. If you do already follow me, as Kate said, I'm quite busy doing lots of things. I also run female events called Under the Umbrella Ladies Who Can, which is my collaboration with Kim McGinley, who you also may know through the community, who's part of your community group. So we both host these events. I run a social media workshop event called the Social Selling Hive. I also volunteer.
Yeah, I've seen that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that later, but yeah, that's really good for so many people who just feel alone. I think that's the main reason why I built it, is that I noticed that a lot of advisors are building their businesses on their own, and there is loneliness. And I'll tell you about a lady who just signed up yesterday, but we can talk about loneliness and being a mortgage broker after. And then I also go into schools and I volunteer a lot in schools in terms of like career advice, or even just trying to put like property and finance on the radar, especially like having, and I don't mean this in a big-headed way, but having someone like me that looks like me that goes into school and says, I work in property, or I worked in construction and I work in finance. They think that the person who works in finance is their 50-year-old uncle who works in a bank. So they're like, what, you do what, so they kind of that misconception. So the schools really like that. What else do I do? Oh, I'm building my AI app. How can I forget that?
You are really busy with that at the moment, and I know that sounds super exciting.
Yeah, it's so exciting, scary but exciting. So I'm building an app for all of you, for all the people in mortgages who can't really hire a full-blown marketing team, and some perhaps wish to work with me on a one-to-one basis, but it might not be available to them right now. So this could be an all-in-one app that kind of ties the gap, ties that bridge over between being alone and then it costing an arm and a leg to work with a full team or hire someone full-time. So building that.
So super busy all the time, non-stop.
Yeah, and I like it that way because the more I think, the more I do, the more energy I get, and the more productive I feel. So if I'm not emotional, I think that I like the saying where they say the universe likes speed and the universe likes action. You can't just wish your way to something, and you can't just or on a wish and a prayer. You have to take action. So the more active I am, the more I attract positivity, the more I attract activity. So that's why I keep active.
No, I think that's great. So is that kind of what motivates you then every day? Because you work like this, you work in your shed, right? So
in my shed. This is my shed. Can people see this? Is this video recorded?
Yeah, it's video recorded. Yeah.
This is my shed, everyone. Welcome.
So like you said about the loneliness, so you must have that on days, being in your shed on your own, just looking through your computer screen at times. So what is it that motivates you to kind of keep going? Is it that that energy and that speed and wanting to do more, I guess it sounds like?
I'm not the type that does more because I'm like, oh, look at the long list of things that I've accomplished. It sounds like a lot. For me, it's a few things done well, and because I do them all the time, it looks like I do loads of things. But it's, if you think about it, I've stuck to the same principles and the same activities just for a really long time. I'm not like, oh, I'll do that because that's new, and I'll do that because that's new. You know, I'm not like a collector of titles and a collector of activities. I like to stick to things and see them through. So the Social Selling Hive is coming up to its second year. The Money Honey's 2 years. The book took me a year to write, and then, you know, it's still a book. You know, it's still something I talk about. So I believe I do a few things, but I do them well and consistently. I'm a very consistent person. If I was to just stick to one thing, then I'd probably become successful faster in that one thing. Like I could, for example, just abandon everything and be like, right, I'm going to go all in on the podcast and just become an amazing podcaster, #1 show, da da da. But I don't do it to be a #1 show. I do it because I feel like that's my contribution to the community. So
yeah,
everything I do is not because I'm like, I want to be the #1 and the best and no one else, I'm going to kill my competition. For me, it's like, that's my way in that pocket of activity to contribute to that thing that means a lot to me. So I looked at my values and I looked at what brings me joy. And the reason I do what I do is because connectivity and community and contribution, all those words mean something to me. And so I then think, well, how can I go from being just a word to being an actual activity? Like, how do I make it a real thing? And so I then create stuff. Like, I'm a creator. I love creating things and I love giving them out. You know, some of them are free, some of them are monetized, obviously, because I can't just, you know, the shed.
Work for nothing. Yeah.
You know, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have to pay for the shed, I have to pay for my house. So yeah, that's my way, and feeling connected and that contribution. So yes, it can be lonely in the shed, especially when my husband's working from London, even though he'd be working in the house and I'm in the shed, but we'd cross over, you know, he'd like, when we're making coffee, like, how's your day going? Whereas like now, today, for example, my only connectivity would be like talking to you or clients that I've got booked in. And yeah, it can be lonely.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it can. I was in that era where I never really got to work from home because by the time it was really a thing, my kids were teenagers, so there was no benefit.
Right.
So I've never really done it. So for me, it's kind of.
So are you doing it now? Are you working from home now?
No, I work full time in the office. So.
And what did you do during the pandemic?
I did work from home, but I had a husband and kids in the way. So
yeah.
It wasn't
in
really
the way.
like it wasn't that, and they were in the way. So it wasn't really didn't really feel like. So I don't feel like I've ever really experienced some of, because we get it talked about quite a lot on the group, right? That loneliness. And for me, it's quite hard to. I can empathise with it, but I can't really relate that well because I've never really.
Because you've never really experienced.
It.
I was already working from home when I worked. So if no one knows my background, I come from a BDM background. So all you mortgage brokers who have like a BDM with lenders, I used to do that job. I used to be a BDM, and I loved that job. Like, again, I had to get out of the house if I wanted to see people, and my job was to see people all day, every day. I was targeted on having appointments and things like that and bringing deals in. I worked for a bridging lender. Well, they do more than just bridging, but that's my background. If you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see that I'm in your world, and I've been in your world for 10 years. I worked for a brokerage, and then I worked for a lender. And then when I worked for a brokerage, the office was only down the road and I could pop in, but I was actually lonely in the car. So I would not have a team around me because I would be in the car driving to the broker. So then I'd go and see the broker, sit with the advisors, and then be like, right, off to the next one. So then in between times, I'd be just answering calls. So I was very independent for the past 10 years. A BDM has to be very independent, has to be very isolated. And what became harder was as I went to the lender, I was even more isolated because the lender I worked for was from Manchester, and I'm in Hertfordshire, north of London, and I had to look after that patch. And then when I'd bring the underwrite, I'd be like, oh, I really need to go through this case. They're like, well, yeah, when you pop in, let's go through. I'm like, pop in, you're in Manchester. I was like, I can't pop in. So I felt really like held back, even though I looking back now, but back then I just got on with it. I was like, okay, I can't pop in. Can we have a meeting? Can I go through? So looking back now, I'm like, wow, that was a tough gig because all the local BDMs that were like closer to Manchester, they had shoulder to shoulder with the underwriter, and they got things over the line quicker, whereas I just had to do it from the car, and that was really hard. So I got used to being on my own. I'm not saying I feel lonely. I think I've just got used to being lonely, which is why I surround myself with activity. Like, I can't be lonely because I make myself busy. I don't just sit there thinking, oh, what's happening out there. I'd go to events on my own, and that's another thing that women hesitate to do. Like, I will just turn up to an event, and don't get me wrong, even though I show up with a yellow suit and a blow dry, does not mean I'm not shaking or I'm not feeling uncomfortable. I think people just think, oh, it's easy for you because you look confident. I'm like, no, you have to do it scared. You have to do it, even because otherwise I'll be on my own at home and no one will care about me. If I don't make them think, that's why people are like, oh my God, like, we never see what I've done in the industry, as in come out of it when I got made redundant from the lender. And then I've squeezed myself back in. And everyone's like, how did you do that? I was like, because I showed up and I made you not forget me. Like, I was showing up to the events, I would show up online, and you couldn't forget me because I was unavoidable, and that made me feel connected. But that I made that happen. No one else. I made it happen.
I think you're right about the events, because we get a lot of talk about networking and stuff like that on the group, and being, and I know it can be really scary, but I think you're right. It is just about, almost that old faking it till you make it, right? That putting on that mask and looking confident, even if you feel scared inside. And I think that's a really good thing for probably some of our newer brokers, particularly, to really listen to and take on board, because networking is so important. And being scared to do it, we're all scared to do it. So it's just about getting yourself out there, isn't it? Like you said. So
and that goes back to, like, when you say, why do you do all these things, or how do you do them? It's like, I looked at that loneliness and I looked at that feeling that we all feel, and I was like, well, let me create the Ladies Who Can community. You can all, like, this group, that's why I like your group, because it's about plugging the gap and doing something positively to plug the gap for something that we're all feeling. So you have to show up if you want to see change. As they say, you need to be the change. So that's exactly the premise behind the Social Selling Hive and the Ladies Who Can events, is that obviously the Ladies Who Can is a bit more like whining and dining fun, it's not an educational event. But the Social Selling Hive is about brokers who are sat at home, surrounded by paperwork or surrounded by just their four walls, and they're thinking, well, how do I take my business to the next level? What should I do? And the 1 day workshop event is for you to be surrounded by other like-minded individuals. You're not going to get big corporates at this event because they've already got a marketing team. They might send their marketing person, but you are likely to be surrounded by other mortgage brokers who are going through the same thing, who all want to grow but don't have the funds or don't have the time. Like, it's that chicken and egg. It's like, well, I don't have the time, I don't have the funds. So that's what that event's good for. And then it allows you in a really achievable way, like a really affordable way, to be able to take the next step in your business. And that's why I created it, because I can't be in everyone's office helping everyone one-to-one forever. So if I can bring them all in one room, one big focus group, and I've done it twice now. I did it once in London, once in Manchester. Both turned out like amazingly well, better than I'd anticipated. And now I'm running the next one. I don't know when this will launch, but the next one is the 20th of November. So I don't know when your podcast is due to come out, but the 20th of November in Manchester. Before that, yeah. So there might still be tickets left, because I've made it, again, to not make it overwhelming or scary. I didn't make it like 100 people in a room, because then you won't get my undivided attention. So it's only 20 people in the room, which means that, there's 5 tables of 5. I go around the tables and I go, I look over your shoulder to see if you want me to like look over any of your content and give you that feedback. There's LinkedIn training, there's Instagram training, there's a lead generation power hour. Yeah. It's really productive. So it's intimate.
It sounds like so beneficial. And I think like you said, I think one of the biggest things for me, the most valuable thing for me, would be being in that room with those other women or those other people that are all in the same position, because it's so hard sometimes in the industry to find those people and to find people that are in the same position as you, because the ones that are loudest are they're not necessarily the ones that you want to be with, are they? that you're going to resonate that with.
Out there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly that. So it's nice to have I think it's great what you've done. I think that the Selling Hive particularly is fantastic. Resource for people that are looking for that, like you said, that mid-level of support where they can't quite afford to do it one-on-one fully, but they know they need something. So sure. I think,
or even if you have got a bigger team, like if you are listening to this and you're part of like 25 advisor team, but you do have a full-time marketing person, then it might be that you send them to that. I've had that a lot where brokers, or even like I've had a couple of brokers that are like, oh, my daughter does my social media, can she come to your training? So I was like, yeah, no problem. So that, this might be an opportunity to upskill yourself or to upskill someone in your team. I don't want to make it a pitch about the social selling hive, but I'm just explaining how that's where it's gone. But that's not what my intention was. It was just more to highlight the point that you're on your own, right? You either pay with your time or you pay with money, or you get help or you wing it. Like there's no, you're either going to wing it for the next year or you're going to get the training. But in a year's time, don't make the excuse that this wasn't available to you or that wasn't available to you. You have to go and seek the gap, the help that you need. You can absolutely work it all out on your own if you wanted to, but it's just might take you longer. And then that time could have been spent with your clients. You just got to be smart about your time. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in my business, is that time is so expensive. It's more expensive than delegating that 5-minute job or delegating that resource or that activity, because you can get on with those. I call it like, the £5 jobs or the £100 jobs or the £1,000 jobs. If you're juggling loads of £5 jobs, you're never going to be able to hold in your hand those £1,000 jobs or the bigger jobs.
Yeah, totally. That's so true, isn't it? And I think it's so easy when we're in this industry and we're dealing with rate changes and clients and all that kind of stuff, to just be consumed by those £5 jobs, right? It's so easy to get just consumed by them every day and just not take a step back to maybe look at that, what other jobs there are there that you're missing because you're just working on these £5 jobs all the time. Yeah, definitely. I think it's so easy to do that. So one of the things that you do really well is build your personal brand. Like, it's just amazing. Obviously, like, hats off to you. I think you've done fantastic at it. So I know I don't want you to give away tons, because I know obviously some of this is about making money.
But I don't know how to. Can
you give like a couple of tips to people about personal brand building?
Of course, yeah. Like I said, I wrote a book called this Social Media Guide for Mortgage Brokers. And I don't think I held back. I gave a lot, and people that were reading it, they were like, "Oh my God, Ros, for £14, I can't." There's homework in there, there's exercises. I was like, yeah, because again, hopefully the way I talk and what I say will teach you enough about personal branding, because you should be able to read between the lines and think, right. So, for example, the book. One of my values is, if you're going to do something, then do it properly, do it well, right? That's one of my personal brand attributes, and you can call it a personal brand. All it is personal brand is made up of different categories that I break it down into. So, like, for example, one of them is your values. So you think, oh, Ros has got a great personal brand. All I'm doing is showing you what my values mean in that category. That's one of the categories. So, for example, I believe that confidence is something that you work on. It's not something you're born with. It's to be worked. But if you show up confident, then you will look confident. So I will show up with, I will take a lot of time thinking about my outfit. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna rock up with like a beautiful, like, I'm looking for the best yellow suit I can find. I'm looking for the best yellow dress. Like, I want to rock up, and I want people when I walk in to be like, oh my, I want them to be excited, because that excitement, even though it sounds like it's about me, it's not about me, it's about your energy. Because if I show up, my shoulders down and in a grey suit, and I say, we make buzzing content, you're going to be like, do you?
Totally.
So I've got to show up, like when you get those lenders and the BDR, this is something I want to go into in training. And I've been doing that with a couple of lenders. But It's to help the BDMs feel the emotion of their lender proposition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of them come in and they're like, we think outside the box and we take a view on things. But they say it in a way that you're like, are you sure that you're definitely confident that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Right. So when I was at, I can say it because I'm so proud to have worked there, and they're a client now, but Together is where I used to work. I used to love my job. I absolutely, gutted I had lost it, but not gutted because obviously it's worked out well for me.
Yeah.
But at the time I was like, oh my God, I freaking loved this job. Why am I losing it? Because I got made redundant. But at the time, obviously, Together had a very negative connotation, misconceptions, and things like that. So I had to embrace that brand, Kate. And I know I'm going around your question the long way round.
Okay.
But personal branding isn't like, number one, do this. Number two, do this. Personal branding is like something that's already within you. You already have these qualities, these values, these attributes, these experiences. As you can see, my categories are coming out now, these experiences, these your connections, your network, that's all making up your personal brand. So I'm talking about values, and like my value was, I wear the Together branding and I'm going to make them proud. I'm going to make them shine. So that was my value. And that's inadvertently created me and my personal brand, because I was memorable and I turned Together around for my region. People were like, well, what's that Mancunian company? There was a really like, why would I go and give it to, I'll just give it to a local London lender. And I was like, right, let me explain. So I had to change people's perceptions and connotations around that lender. And I did that with my personal brand, as in the way I articulate myself, the way I explain things, the way I try and break things down. I used to make games out of like our USPs. So like, for example, like one of the Together's proposition was, we will lend on any property. Like literally, have you ever used Together, Kate?
Yeah.
One of the USPs is any property. So you get a BDM that'd be like, any property, literally any property. I went in and I had, so what I did was I printed out like lots of pieces of paper, and on each piece of paper there was a property type. Like, so this one had a football stadium, then this one had a church, then this one had a high rise, and this one had concrete. So I had lots of visuals on the desk, and I made them play a game that I'd made up about which ones would we lend on and at how much. So that was not something Together taught me, was not something Together gave me, was me utilizing my skills of creativity, of teaching. I love teaching, and I put those together. That's your personal brand. You see what I mean? It's like how you deliver something, how you talk, how you show up, how you create your own version of success, I guess, is my simplest answer. But I lean back into my values. Like that really anchors me in terms of like, what brings me joy and what do I excel at? Focus on your strengths. What are you absolutely amazing at, and how can you make that a memorable thing in your business?
Yeah, that's so powerful, isn't it? And I think, especially the bit around joy, because I think it's really easy to get lost in joy in this industry at times. And I think trying to kind of remind yourself even daily, like, is what's bringing me joy here? What am I actually enjoying? What am I actually good at? What bits am I excelling at? And it's a bit around that kind of positive thinking, to not get stuck in a momentum of not being positive, right?
I see a lot of brokers, like especially clients that work with me, like comparing themselves to other people online and looking at what other brokers are doing, and I'm just like, right, you need to either delete these people off your socials, because you clearly can't, you haven't got the emotional strength yet to handle that. Like you need to either hide it or delete it, or you have to like work really fast, really quickly on your mindset about how to handle that. So for example, when I first launched Manuka Media, it wasn't even called Manuka Media, but when I first launched it, all the gurus would tell you, Ros, have a one offer that is one to many. Yeah, because time, like you know, one to many, you have to have a video course, a funnel, a scaling ladder where you give them a £10 offer, then they want to buy the £100 offer, and then you sell them the £1,000 offer, and then you try and sell them the £15,000 offer. And I just had to be done with that. I was like, it doesn't bring me joy to record a video course and then never be live on a call with my client where I get to hear their ups and their, like, I literally feel like some of my sessions, instead of talking about content, it's actually therapy. Like I actually, honestly, and I'm not a qualified therapist, but they open up to me and they tell me about like what their struggles are. And then somehow I turn it around, and in the end, we're like, right, let's create a piece of content, which then makes them feel empowered because they've been through that emotionally. And content is emotional because it's the story that you're telling the outward world, everything you've just been through. Like that's what content is. And so I have to go through that therapy with my clients. But all the gurus, Kate, were telling me, where's your course, you know, where's your this, and I created something that most of my competitors would avoid, which is that one-to-one quality time together. Yes, it's at a little bit of a higher price point, but the value you get off it is so much better, rather than me flogging a course that I don't know what you're going to do with it. I don't even know if you're going to implement it. And that's my value. It's like, I don't even trust you to do it. Like, I'm going to, because I just think I want to take control, and I want to help Kate, and I want to develop Kate, and I want to make sure that she does her homework, executes. You know, I'm a bit like that because I do come from that teaching background. And I won't let someone else tell me how to run my business, because that's my superpower, which is I like giving that one-to-one coaching time. You know, a broker yesterday voice noted me because I asked her for some feedback, and she was like, my feedback is to you that you give away too much advice here and there. You think you're just having a friendly chat, but actually the stuff that you say should be billable. And you're not billing me enough. She was like, even if I call you for 5 minutes, what you tell me in that 5 minutes, you just think it was just a quick chat. She was like, but actually that's worth money. But you know, that's my way of staying connected to my clients and feeling like I'm making a difference. Really.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I've had people mention stuff like that to me about the group. And I've had offers from companies to like do kickbacks for like, you know, if I advertise their stuff, they'll do a kick, and people sign up for a certain link, they'll kick back to me, and I'm like, no, I don't want it. Like, I don't. That's not what the group was about. It wasn't what it was set up for. Like, it was set up to help people and women, not to make me money. Like, so you know, and you know, I make money doing my day job. That's my passion project. That's a slightly different thing. So it's hard though, isn't it? Because when you are a person that, and I can tell you're the kind of person, you just want to help people, right? And it's very hard then to find that line of, have I helped, have I
enough, and then have I charged,
like, have I stepped too far, have I given too much away for free? Should I be giving that much away for free? Should I be doing less? But then it, like you said, then it hits your values of, well, actually I just want to help people though. So it's a very fine line, I think, to try and tread. And I think, you know, we don't always get it right, do we? But other people are benefiting from us sometimes stepping over it.
And you know, I'd rather my name be remembered in a really positive light, like in a great energy, rather than, oh God, she was well, Kate, you know. And do you know what, Kate, we're never going to please everyone. I do know that there's I think as women we do sense that. You know, there are times where I've bumped into someone and the energy they've given me, I'm like, I don't think they've got my name in a good light. Like, I can tell that when my name passes their lips, it's not in a positive light, but it's more of a reflection of them than it is me. Because I'm like, if you couldn't see, or whatever you've seen online, and you've made up your own assumption of who I might be or how, then that's fine. Like, I can't control how you feel about me. But I can sleep at night. I know that I can go to bed, and even when I've uncomfortably, because let's face it, we feel uncomfortable as women to say no, to stand our ground, to protect our boundaries and our parameters. Even when I've done that, full well acknowledging, like, no, Ros, you deserve to say no, or you deserve to charge, or you deserve to, or you have it in your right. there's still that niggle that you're like, oh, but this feels so uncomfortable. Like, I wonder how they took that. I wonder how they felt about that. And I don't know how to shake that away. It's just the guilt, isn't it? It's the guilt of like protecting your boundaries.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough one, isn't it, to shake away that guilt of protecting your boundaries. And I think, like you said, it's really easy, particularly as women, to just not put the boundaries in that well, because you don't want to deal with the guilt of putting the boundary in the first place. So it's a hard one to do. I mean, I'm really bad at saying no, full stop. So, I just I'm horrendous at it. So it's so not only do I deal with all my own ideas, I quite often end up getting involved in other people's because I can't say no to things. But like you said, I think sometimes I'd rather have that than and be remembered as someone who was helpful and kind and willing to give time than not. So it's
if it fills your bucket back up. Like the other day I had to go to an event, and it was like, I'm working all day from home and I don't have to commute, but because I had to go to this event, I finished the whole day's work and then I had to start the commute. So, energetically, I was like, oh my God, I could just stumble into my kitchen, make some dinner and go to bed. But I had to do the opposite, like a salmon. I had to like swim into London instead of away from London, go to this event. And I remember trying to coach myself through it, thinking, do I want to do this because I want to impress this person that's invited me and I don't want to let them down because, I don't want to say no? Or am I trying to be strict with myself and like, Roz, you know what, if you don't fancy it, you shouldn't go. But that's not a good practice either. Just because you want to protect your energy or you're not feeling up to it, your word is your word. That's me. My word is my word. And unless I'm literally dropping down and I'm ill and I wouldn't want to be infecting everyone at that event anyway, if it's just I can't be bothered, I'm just honest with myself and I like to honor my words. And I was like, right, I'm going to go. But even though I don't want to go, I'm going to let myself know, Roz, I acknowledge your feelings that you don't want to go and that it's a big effort to put your makeup on right now and go to this event. However, what you do value is that person, I'll tell you a really quick story why I went to it, is that she's a lady that came onto the Money Honey podcast 2 years ago. And I haven't seen her since. Like, I don't even see her online. I don't see her out and about at all. But I really enjoyed her story on the Money Honey. Like, she was fantastic. Out of the blue, 2 years later, she's like, Roz, I've just started a Asian group, like to support Asian brokers, like as an allies group, as a professional, South Asians, what we go through, prejudice and this and that. And I'd love for you to come as an ally. Like, she said, I remember our podcast. And even though I hadn't spoken to her for 2 years, I was like, wow, she really remembers like the impact I made.
Yeah.
And now I'm really proud of her. So what I do value is that she stepped out of her comfort zone. She was true to herself. She used her voice for the greater good, for the power of like helping another community within our industry. That's what I'm going for. Not because I can't be bothered and I should be protecting my energy, but I would rather catch up on my energy tomorrow and celebrate a woman who has disappeared for 2 years and all of a sudden has come out with this phenomenal initiative. It's almost like, how dare I not be there?
Totally. No, I get it, definitely.
So when people say, oh, if you don't want to go, just don't go, I'm like, I'm not sure that's fair advice, really. I'm not sure you should just give in to because that little chimp in your head is always going to tell you not to do something. It's always going to be like, oh, but do you really want to go? And do you really? And it will make a really good case. It will make a really compelling case as to why you shouldn't. And you'll put that down to, I'm protecting my mental health today. I think we need to really think deeply. Are we protecting our mental health, or are we giving into our chimp that is always there, always telling you like you shouldn't, or why do you really feel like it? That's always going to be there. And
I think that's a really good thing for the people in the group to probably think about when they agree to go to networking.
Sorry, I just had to turn my heat.
It's okay. So when they agree to go to kind of any networking event, like, it's always so easy to just be like, actually, I'm too busy today. Actually, I've got this to do instead. Actually, I need to prioritize this instead, and then just not go. And like you said, and I think it is giving into that chimp, isn't it? And it's you know, I've been guilty of it in the past. It's so easy to kind of just sometimes be like to just make that easy, what feels like an easier decision. And actually, if we really want to build our brands and build build our confidence, we should be pushing through that and attending these things anyway, for ourselves and for the people that we're showing up for.
I agree. I think, yes, we want to be selfish. We do have to be more selfish, and we do have to look after ourselves, because otherwise who else is? But you then are depleting your energy, because you're not doing something that fills your cup. You're giving into that, like, oh, okay, well, tonight I will give myself the night off, and I'll get into my pajamas extra early, and I'll go to bed, and tomorrow will be fresh. But tomorrow you're going to give into the excuses again, and then before you know it, you think you've been protecting your mental health, but actually you've been isolating yourself, you've been keeping yourself away from everyone, and you're not filling your cup at all. So be careful. I think the chimp paradox, that book, is really really helped me to, I'm not a psychologist. I did do a bit of psychology at uni, sixth form, and I loved it, but I'm not a scientist as such. But the book is easy enough to understand that chimp that we, the little voice in our head that we give into.
Definitely. It's always there, right? In the background.
It's such a great book. If you do have a look at it, it's called The Chimp Paradox, and again, it might help with your mindset as you're navigating through, whether it's business or personal situations, or I really recommend it.
Cool. So we haven't got long left, but I did just want to touch on AI quickly.
Okay, yes.
And just because obviously it's growing and growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger, and obviously you're building your app, which I'm guessing there's some AI going on somewhere.
Oh, it's all AI. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So is there anything really simple that advisors could be using the AI for that they might not be thinking about?
Yeah, you put this in the chat group, didn't you, about ways to use AI to help our lives easier, to make our lives easier. And there's just so much we could talk about. But I think the biggest tool that I still am surprised to this day that advisors, I didn't realize, weren't adopting as much as I thought they were, is ChatGPT. I can't believe that is not something again, the lady that signed up yesterday to the Social Selling Hive said, oh, I've just started using it, but we've got a whole ChatGPT training session at the Social Selling Hive, because I didn't realize so many people weren't using it. But the power of it, like, I've literally planned my meals through it, as in when my PT gave me my macros, like, Ros, you need to have X amount of grams of protein in this. I used it for that. You could also use it to, you've got to try and be careful with the data you give it, because obviously of the data protection of your sensitive client data. So you should be signing up to the business model. Obviously that is a cost. Don't try and do it on the free stuff, because you won't be able to protect your data. There's also a toggle in the settings that you can turn off, which is something, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it's something around, don't use my inputs as stored knowledge to help others. So obviously whatever you put in, have you done that? Have you?
Yeah.
Obviously you want to put that in there, but
I always check with it as well. So I'm always like, I just want to double check that this data, anything I share here, is not going anywhere. And then and it replies and it confirms it all for you as well, because I'm always super cautious.
Yes, and you have to be. I mean, what I'm doing is not as sensitive as what you're doing.
I don't put client stuff in there, but just, I don't even want like email I don't really want it using any of my stuff, anything, even the stuff that I put in about my meals. I don't really want it sharing it with other people. So
no, fair enough. I mean, I don't think it will say this came from Kate, but obviously it won't actually disclose where it came from. But what I use it for is, for example, I use an AI note taker called Otter on all my meetings, right? And it transcribes our entire conversation, which many brokers probably have now, a transcript tool. And if you don't, you absolutely should, because it captures everything that the client's been saying, everything you said, everything you went through, because let's face it, we're humans. So as humans, we should be embracing AI and the technology, because it will pick up things that we missed. And we're human, so in a conversation there's lots of things that we might have missed. So anyway, I capture the conversation and then I might put it into ChatGPT and say, can you summarize like the exact goals and deliverables that this client is looking from me? Like what exact activities and services do they want from me? Because obviously the conversation was an hour, but I just want some bullet points of like, what is everything that you want from me? So then those that will come up, and then I'll say, okay, can you now design? This is my structure of a proposal. Can you now design a package or a service pack that features those services in there? And no doubt, because obviously I know what's in my head and how I want to do it, it will give me a structure, but then I literally go through it like with a very thorough tooth comb, you know, making sure that it sounds like me, da 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 da. So, you know, it could be to create proposals, or it could be to create emails, templates, anything like that. Yeah. One of my favorite tools is like creating your own GPT, your personalized one, and teaching it your language, your tone, your sense of humor, teaching it like your what your business is about, who your ideal customer is, what your niche is, all of that, and then you can store that as like one file. It's called your own GPT. You can call it whatever you like, but you can create content off the back of that. And you can say, can you create content in my tone, in my style, using these hooks or using these examples? So just a faster way to get things done, really.
I used it so I started doing a blog post every week on the Women in Mortgages group. And I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what I wanted. I knew the categories of like what I wanted to talk about, and I knew what I wanted it to really look like. But I got it to help me write them, because that would have taken me hours and hours and hours. And then I just read through them, made it sound more like me, like you said, like, because some of it sounds a bit AI, doesn't it? And you know, taking out some of the dashes that we don't really use.
You can program that in there, by the way. You can program that, like you could, in the settings, you can say like the personalization of the output. Never write with dashes. But sorry to interrupt you, but you can.
That's all right. Oh, well, that's good to know. So, and you know, and I got it to kind of, and then I was like, actually, I want to do this. I want to talk about this here, and can we add this in and these examples in that I know that work for me, and add these bits in. And then it was like, cool. So if you're using it on your Women in Mortgages Facebook group, do you want me to do you a post for each blog as well?
Right.
And yeah, please.
Yes.
No,
exactly.
It's just so it thinks of the things that you probably would have thought about, but a lot quicker than you would. So
like exactly this with like my app as well. You know, I was chatting to ChatGPT and said like, these are all the things that I do in my job, and I want to do it for mortgage brokers. What do you think mortgage brokers are suffering with at the moment? What are their challenges right now that they're really and then it will come up, be like, oh yeah, that'd be a good feature in the app. So it might just be something creative that you haven't thought about, or it might just be doing something you've always done. Think about like an activity, maybe just start in there to feel a bit more confident, which is, what's that one activity that you're doing in your business that you're doing by hand every single time? Like, you should be having templates even without AI, but if you haven't had templates and you're just starting that thank you email from scratch, or that proposal from scratch, or whatever you're writing, think about those repetitive tasks and how you can actually have, you know, ready to go templates, so that like it takes, instead of it taking an hour, it takes 5 minutes.
100%. I mean, we've had email templates for years anyway, but we obviously manually wrote them all originally. But now we're in the process of feeding them through ChatGPT to just get them a little bit, you know, more concise, a little bit more clear, you know, those kind of things that it's easy to waffle when you're in your own emails, isn't it? And, you know, and I use it to rewrite some emails when I'm like, yeah, that's really waffly, but I haven't got time to manually rewrite it. Let's shove it into ChatGPT and get it to clear it up for me a little bit. And I think it is a really big time saver, isn't it? It just makes such a difference.
100%. So you need to get yourself to some sort of AI training or program, because it has evolved quite fast, and we're not playing around with ChatGPT anymore. So it has evolved really quickly. So getting some support or training. There is an event coming up for brokers. It's called Conference of the Future. And it is an AI conference. It is targeted to brokers, and it is all about tools that you can use with AI. One worth considering, guys, if you're listening to this, it's on the 21st of October, and it's in London. I think you have to buy a ticket. I can't remember, but I'm the host. I've been asked to host it. It's not my event. I'm not organising it, but I will be there as a speaker. And yeah, there's going to be like just the latest tools that brokers can use. I've actually got a couple of AI clients, clients in the industry, in the mortgage industry, that are doing phenomenal things for brokers, phenomenal. And I'm happy to talk about them on another day, or invite them over for you, Kate, actually introduce them to you, because they've actually got, when my app is live, I'll come back and share it, but it's not live enough yet. If you go, boys and girls, whoever's listening to this, if you have requests, if you're like, oh my god, Roz, if your app could do this, please send through your requests, and I'll try and see what I can make happen. But there are 2 companies that I work with that are already building tech and software for brokers, and what I've seen is outstanding. Like, I can't believe brokers today get to run a business with that type of technology, because you probably remember, Kate, like you said, all the manual stuff. It doesn't have to be like that anymore.
Ross, I constantly tell my team, when I started, the lenders barely even had websites. Like, I don't even think most of them didn't have websites. So, even the stuff like Knowledge Bank and Ignite didn't exist. Like, it did, because the lenders barely had criteria themselves. So the only way to find out if they would do something was to speak to the BDM or call them on the phone. So for me, like, I feel like the tech to help brokers has grown massively in the 20 years I've been doing it already, but I can see it just being like phenomenal over the next 5. Like, I feel like we're just going to see so many. Yeah, well, it is. Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, these two clients that I work with, they've taken away every admin job. Not getting away from the admin person, but the admin person has actually been able to focus on client relationships rather than paperwork. And that has transformed people's businesses, because they've been able to write more business, because they are staying closer to the clients, not to the paperwork. Honestly, I just can't believe what I'm seeing.
And I know there's some people out there that are scared of AI, right? Worried about it taking our jobs and stuff like that. It's not going to. From my and again, you probably feel the same. People by people, they like talking to people that they relate with, and they can build a relationship with, and that's not changing, and that's not changing. So I think these people are going to want to still speak to us. The AI is going to assist us in helping more people and speak to more people.
So, like, so if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see the videos that I've made about my journey of building this app. So I do invite you to come along. And Instagram is so different to LinkedIn, because I do love LinkedIn. That's where majority of my business was built. But Instagram, you can see stories behind the scenes. You can see my cat. So yeah, lots of things behind the scenes. But this summer, the reason this app was born is because I went through a bit of a, let's call it health, but like a health issue in the summer that, when you're bed bound for like 2 weeks, your brain goes into overdrive, like you want to run a marathon, that type of thing. But I was sat there and I was already feeling a bit iffy about my business. I was like, I've lost that sparkle. You didn't notice, because obviously I was still posting away as normal. But I was like, there's something in my mind that keeps niggling at me of like, what if AI took my job? What if AI took my job? What if AI took my job? And I kept saying that, what if AI took, and then I went, well, what if AI took my job? Okay, all right then, go on, I dare you, take my job. So that's what I did. I got this, I'm looking at this, I'm pointing, but you can't see, but it's, those A boards, like the and I wrote on there, what if AI could take my job? And I started brainstorming what I do, how I do it, and how I could automate it, how I could teach AI to do it. And then I was like, I've just built an app. On paper, I've just built me as an app. And AI, if it's going to take my job, I'm going to make it take my job. I'm going to be the culprit of that. I'm going to be the creator of my destiny. And that is when I realized the power we have as humans, and the knowledge you have, like Kate could create a AI mortgage advisor, because she has been the mortgage advisor from the ground up. So I can't create an AI mortgage advisor because I've never been a mortgage broker, but Kate has the intelligence in her head that no one else has, because she has been a mortgage broker. So you, Kate, could create the first ever robo mortgage advisor, but works for you. This robo advisor works for Kate, and that's the power you take back, guys, when you embrace AI, is that you will bring it into your businesses. And these clients that I'm working with and other people that are creating AI tools, they are coming in with the mission to level up your team, not to eradicate it. They're there to help you take control of something that is happening anyway, but with your IP, like this is your intelligence and you can take ownership of it. That's what AI is there for. It's not there to replace us, because like you said, that human touch, if all my clients are using the app, I can spend more time face to face with events and speaking and writing another book, and it gives you more time back.
Yeah, definitely. I think 100% I agree. It gives you more time back.
Sorry, and final point, not to mention, if you don't adopt it, users as clients, when we're applying for mortgages, when we're doing banking, we expect it now. So you just got to be mindful that you're not embracing something that's going to make you look antique rather than modern and easy to deal with. So AI is something that clients are expecting now in applications, and making it easier. Don't make them do paper forms, because if a year down the line they find that another broker's using an automated tool on the app, they're like, wow, this broker's futuristic, whereas that broker made me do 100%.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, and I think it's something we just all need to get on board with and start getting it to work for us. And I think it's such an important message. Right, we are out of time. Thank you so much. It's been so I could literally chat to you all day, Ros. So thank you.
Sorry, I go on and on, so apologies.
No, it's been so great and so wonderful. So I really appreciate it. I hope everyone listening has enjoyed our chat. And thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.